Unveiled. The amazing journey of Freightliner Powerliner, 19 liters of heartwarming strength. In the heart of a fading Midwestern town, a whisper of hope lingered on the wind, and Jake was determined to breathe life into it. He found the Freightliner Powerliner tucked away in an old barn, its once vibrant paint now peeling, and its rusted engine slumped like a forgotten dream. To Jake, this wasn't just an old truck, it was a symbol of grit, of a future he wanted for his son, Ben. At 35, with grease-stained hands and a heart full of hopes, he could feel the weight of the world on his shoulders. The factory closures had been a plague, stripping the town of its spirit, leaving it a ghost of its former self. But Jake was no quitter. He'd inherited his father's legacy, and he swore he'd keep the repair shop running. No matter what. As the sun painted the sky orange, Ben would scamper to the shop after school, wide grin lighting up his face. They'd share laughter over greasy fries and fizzy sodas. But, with every hour Jake spent pouring his soul into that Freightliner, the joyous chatter started to fade, replaced with uncomfortable silences at the dinner table. It hurt him to see Ben's little shoulders sag, the spark in his eyes dimming. Jake was lost in his project, a project that felt like the last lifeline in a sea of despair. The townsfolk, seeing the dust cloud of his obsession, started to murmur. "Why waste time on a hunk of metal?" they said as they gathered at the diner. It was tough to ignore, like the weight of a heavy wrench pressing down on his spirit. Then came the community meeting. Hushed tongues and skeptical eyes filled the room as Jake stood before them, nerves coiling in his stomach. "Listen, this isn't just a truck. It's about bringing back what we lost, hope." There was laughter, scoffs mingled with disbelief. Unable to bear their judgment, he clenched his fists. It felt like a storm brewing inside him. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But the tides began to shift. Word of the Freightliner spread like wildfire, rekindling a flicker of nostalgia in the townspeople's hearts. They started to remember, to believe, as they brushed the dust off their own dreams. The idea of a local race emerged, a chance to unite, a chance to bring the community together again. The Powerliner was transformed into a beacon of hope, ready to roar with forgotten pride. Huddled in his garage, Jake felt the rush of energy, but a knot formed in his chest when he looked over at Ben, alone in the corner, eyes downcast. What was supposed to bring them together was turning into a source of resentment. Jake found himself torn, caught between the roar of engines and the soft whimper of his son's heart. The race day loomed ahead like an approaching storm, and all he could think was, will he have the strength to fix not just the engine of that truck, but the bond with his son before it's too late? The days melted into one another, each one a reminder of the ticking clock. The buzz of excitement for the race filled the air, a constant background noise that Jake couldn't escape. Posters adorned the walls of the diner, children chattered with giddy anticipation, and even the most skeptical townsfolk started to show up at his shop, offering their hands to help bring the Powerliner back to life. But through it all, Jake felt a tightening in his chest. Ben spent less and less time at the shop, retreating into a cocoon of silence. When Jake called him over to help with a small task, he'd only nod, his eyes avoiding the gleam of the Freightliner. Jake noticed how Ben was worrying too, the furrow in his brow deepening. He could almost hear the thoughts racing in his son's mind. Did his father care more about the race than him? The truck seemed to loom larger than life, overshadowing everything. One evening, after a long day of tuning the engine, Jake sat on a stool, his hands tired and raw. He watched Ben from a distance as he played with a rusty bolt, but the boy's smile was nowhere to be found. "Hey buddy," Jake called softly. "Come here for a sec?" Ben's head shot up, a mix of surprise and reluctance crossing his face. Slowly, he walked over, hands stuffed deep in his pockets. "What's up, Dad? The Powerliner is looking good?" His voice carried a heaviness, and Jake felt an ache in his gut. "Listen, I want you to know something," Jake began, choosing his words carefully. "This isn't just about the race for me. I'm doing this so that we can have something to believe in again. I need you to believe in it too." Ben shifted from one foot to the other, the conflict inside him swirling like a tornado. "But what if it doesn't work out? What if you lose? Then what?" Jake's heart sank. He had fought so hard to latch onto this dream, yet now he faced the truth in his son's words. "Then we'll figure it out together. But I need you by my side, son. I need your spirit, your laughter, I need you." The raw honesty hung in the air like the last beams of setting sun. Ben looked up, surprised by the openness of his father's tone. He had seen Jake wear a mask of determination for so long, rarely exposing his vulnerabilities. For the first time, a flicker of understanding crossed Ben's face. The bond between them wasn't broken, but hidden beneath layers of fear and expectation. "Okay," Ben said quietly, finally meeting his father's gaze. "But can we still fix it together?" "Yes," Jake exclaimed, relief washing over him. "Let us get to work, you and me. We're in this together all the way." They stepped into the garage as partners, rubbing off the grime of despair and replacing it with the enthusiasm of redemption. Their shared laughter harmonized with the hum of machinery, vibrant and alive. The Powerliner began to look less like a rusty shell and more like a cherished member of their family. Yet, with the race day fast approaching, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that the town's expectations hung over them like storm clouds. He was grateful for Ben's renewed spirit, but would it be enough? As the final days drifted closer, Jake's thoughts turned again. Could the Powerliner bring not just triumph on the track, but heal their fractured relationship too? Just then, a heavy knock echoed from the garage door. A familiar silhouette stood outlined against the fading light. It was Tom, the town's former champion driver, and it felt both like an omen and an opportunity. "What's that you two are cooking up?" he asked, stepping inside. Jake swallowed hard. Tom's presence was both a thrill and a challenge. He carried the weight of expectations and all the town's hopes. Would he bring encouragement or add to the pressure? "Just getting ready for the race?" Jake replied, trying to sound confident. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken words as they faced one another, and Jake wondered, could Tom inspire them, or would he deepen their uncertainty? The question lingered heavy in the air as excitement and dread began to entwine. Tom stepped into the garage, the golden light from the setting sun casting long shadows on the floor. The silence stretched between the three of them, punctuated only by the distant sounds of the town preparing for the race. Jake felt his heart quicken. This was Tom, the legend, the man who had once worn the crown of champion, and memories flooded back of long nights listening to stories of glory, of speed, and triumph. "Well, it looks like you've been busy," Tom remarked, nodding toward the glistening Powerliner. There was a sparkle in his eye, but Jake sensed a deeper scrutiny beneath it. "Trying to get it race-ready," Jake said, forcing a smile, but it felt thin. "Just hoping it's enough." Tom stepped closer, peering under the hood and running his fingers along the engine, his expression turning thoughtful. "She's got potential, all right, but potential can be a double-edged sword. You know that, don't you?" Ben, standing beside Jake, scrunched his brow. "What do you mean?" he asked, his childlike curiosity piercing through the tension. "Potential means you've got a chance for greatness," Tom explained slowly, "but it also means if things go wrong, they can go wrong in a big way. You have to face that reality." Jake's stomach churned. That was exactly what he had been trying to shield Ben from. He wanted to protect him from disappointment, but Tom's words only amplified his doubt. Could he really pull this off? Could he protect not just the dream of racing but the hope of rebuilding their relationship? "Are you ready for that?" Tom continued, now locking eyes with Jake. "And more importantly, is Ben?" Jake looked down at Ben, who was now staring intently at the floor, processing every word. "Ben's tougher than he looks," Jake responded, a hint of defensive pride creeping into his voice. "He has got a heart for it." We're in this together, remember? Ben nodded hesitantly, but Jake could see that the shadows still lingered behind his eyes. He wanted to reassure him, to instill confidence, but doubt was an unwelcome guest to their conversation. Well, if you're really committed, Tom said finally, breaking the tension with an easy grin, why don't I help you get this thing in fighting shape? A little expert touch couldn't hurt. Jake's heart leaped. Tom's help would be monumental, but it also felt like an admission of desperation. Would this be about the race or about proving to the town and himself that he could still be a father and a champion? Absolutely, Jake replied, his voice steadier now. But I want Ben beside me for it. We're a team. Tom's grin deepened. That's the spirit. Let us show the town what this baby can do. As Tom guided them through the next steps, Jake felt a surge of camaraderie. They worked side by side, Ben's hands small but eager, absorbing everything. Moments of laughter erupted as Tom shared tales of races past, the kind that lit up Ben's face with renewed excitement. But amid the assembly of nuts and bolts, the chatter about horsepower and speed, a deeper concern lingered. Would this team, this moment, be enough to bridge the gaps of unspoken fears? Jake wondered if, with every challenge they faced together, they could also mend the broken parts of their relationship. Suddenly, an idea stirred in Jake's mind as a wave of determination washed over him. Maybe it wasn't just about winning the race but showing Ben how to embrace the unknown, that life was about the journey, not just the destination. Tom glanced over, sensing something shift in the air. You okay, Jake? He asked, concern creeping into his tone. I think we might just have a shot at this, Jake said, a warmth spreading in his chest. Not just at winning, but at really being a team. As they finished their work, excitement settled in the garage like a warm blanket. Yet, a new worry bubbled up. What if the race day came, and despite their efforts, everything went wrong? And then came another knock at the door. This time it was Sarah, Ben's mother. Her face painted with a blend of apprehension and hope. Jake, she started, her voice tense, there's something we need to talk about. It's important. The room felt chilly as their eyes met, and Jake's heart raced once again. What revelation awaited them, and could it change everything they had fought to rebuild? Jake's breath caught in his throat as he met Sarah's gaze. It was the kind of look that sliced through the quiet buzz of excitement in the garage, replacing it with uncertainty. He felt the walls of the space tighten around him, closing in as questions swirled in his mind. What could be so important that it couldn't wait until after the race? Sarah, what is going on? He managed to echo, his voice steadier than he felt. She took a deep breath, her hands fidgeting as if trying to compose her thoughts into something he could grasp. I didn't want to interrupt, she began, glancing at Ben, who was mulishly chewing his lip, sensing the weight in the air. But it's about something you should know before the race. The shifting dynamic seemed to pull Ben into its uncertainty. Jake knelt down to meet his son's eyes. Hey, buddy, he said, forcing a lightness into his tone. Why don't you keep an eye on the tools, huh? Make sure Dad and Tom don't mess anything up. Ben gave a small nod, turning back towards the bench cluttered with wrenches and screws. But Jake could tell he was still listening, the concern simmering just beneath his surface. It's about your dad, Jake. About everything we've both been through, Sarah continued, her voice soft but urgent, drawing Jake back in. There were things I thought you should know before you both face the crowd tomorrow. Jake's heart thudded heavily in his chest. What things? He pressed, trying to focus, to clear the slate of anxiety swirling around him. After you left, I needed time to understand what was happening to us. To everything, she said, her voice breaking slightly. Ben, he doesn't just see you as a dad. He sees you as a hero. But he's also scared, Jake. He worries about you, about the race. He doesn't want you to fail again. Her words hung in the air, heavy and poignant. Jake felt a rush of emotions. Guilt, fear, but also a flicker of hope. I'm trying to show him I can still do this for both of us. That I'm here now, he replied earnestly. But I can't shake the feeling that what if I fail him? Sarah stepped closer, her eyes steady and warm. Jake, you won. You've already come back from so much. Just being here has shown him that you're fighting for a chance to be better. He nodded, letting her words settle. The journey to rebuilding his life, his relationship with Ben, wasn't about a single race but about every step leading there. It's important he knows that no matter what happens tomorrow, you're going to be there for him. Win or lose, she continued, her voice softening with understanding. It's about more than just racing. It's about teaching Ben to face whatever comes, just like you did. Jake felt a spark of something deep inside, almost like a roaring engine revving up. Maybe Sarah was right. He wasn't just preparing for the race. He was positioning himself for every race that life would throw their way. Thanks, Sarah, for saying that. I want to be that father for him. I need to be. But, just as he felt a glimmer of clarity, another knock echoed through the garage, louder this time. The door creaked open, and the familiar face of Nick, Jake's old rival from high school, stepped into the space. He wore a cocky grin, but there was something more beneath it that Jake couldn't immediately place. Hope I'm not interrupting the family reunion. Nick sneered lightly, his eyes scanning the setup before resting on Jake. I just came to see how you're planning to embarrass yourself tomorrow. The room charged with tension, and Jake felt a hint of frustration ignite. This was not what he needed. Not now. Let us go, Nick. Not today, Jake said firmly, his past clashing violently with his present. But Nick shrugged, leaning against the wall. Come on, Jake. The whole town will be watching. You weren't really planning on competing against me, were you? The challenge hung like a dare, taunting Jake and sending Ben's hopeful eyes darting between them. Jake took a deep breath, drawing on the resolve he felt only moments before. Could he set aside his doubts and show both his son and himself what it truly meant to take on a race against everyone, including himself? As his heart hammered in his chest, Jake realized he had a decision to make. It wasn't just about the race. It was about taking a stand. Watch me, he finally replied, determination rising in his tone. But inside, he could feel the tumult of fear and hope battling within him like two race cars on a final lap. He could either let Nick Southtaunts drive him back or rally forward into the unknown. And just like that, the stakes were raised once again. Would he fold under the pressure, or would he rise to meet it? The answer lay just ahead, waiting for him. What would happen when the moment of truth arrived? Nick's smirk only deepened as he pushed himself off the wall, taking a step toward Jake. You think you've got anything left? He taunted, his voice dripping with sarcasm. You've been all talk. What about that last race, huh? Remember how you barely made it past the first lap? The tension thickened, and Jake felt the weight of those words inching closer. He could almost see Ben's tiny face reflecting the crumbling confidence he felt inside. Jake fought back the bitterness rising in his throat. Yes, he stumbled before, but that wasn't who he was anymore. Not today. Hey, Nick, Sarah interjected, her tone firm. Leave him alone. This isn't the time or the place. Her defense sparked an unexpected warmth in Jake, a reminder that he wasn't in this fight alone. But Nick merely chuckled, unfazed. Right, because we wouldn't want to ruin the fairy tale ending, would we? Come on, Jake. Show us how it's done. Each word felt like a challenge, and Jake's heart raced not just from anger, but also from the mounting pressure of rekindled memories. He moved closer to Nick, clenching his fists to suppress the old frustration that threatened to surface. This is about more than you think, Nick. It's about my son. It's about showing him what it means to be brave. Brave? Nick laughed, shaking his head. You think bravery is just about getting behind a wheel? It's about winning, Jake. You need to be strong enough to take it, to own it. And what do you think all those folks are going to say when you lose? In that split second, Jake felt a flash of self-doubt spiral through him. Would he really let another race define him? But then he glanced at Ben, who stood, wavering in the shadows of the garage, uncertainty etched on his small features. Ben believed in him, and that belief birthed a courage Jake hadn't felt in years. Nick, listen, Jake said, feeling his voice grow steady. You're right. Racing is about winning, but it's also about resilience. I've learned more about myself through my failures than I ever did while winning. Nick crossed his arms, his grin faltering. Resilience won't win races. I think it does, Jake responded, his tone firm. My victory isn't just a trophy. It's showing my son that losing doesn't mean you're a failure. Jake's chest swelled, realizing he wasn't racing for validation anymore. This was about teaching Ben to get back up when life slammed him down. He wanted his son to know that it was okay to stumble, as long as you got up and kept going. I'll show you what resilience looks like tomorrow, he said. And I'll show Ben what it means to fight even if we don't come in first. Nick's expression shifted, and for the briefest moment, Jake saw a crack in his bravado. However, Nick quickly masked it with indifference. Good luck with that. You'll need it, he said, before casually walking out, leaving an electric silence behind him. Jake stood rooted for a moment, anger and resolve molten in his veins. He turned to Sarah and Ben, seeking reassurance. Did I sound stupid? No, Ben spoke up, his small voice filled with admiration. You sounded strong. I know you can do it, Dad. Jake knelt beside his son, grateful for the faith radiating from him. No matter what happens tomorrow, I want you to remember all that matters is that I'm here. I'm fighting for you. Sarah smiled softly, pride lighting her eyes. And you've already won in his heart, Jake. Just then, the garage door creaked open wider, sunlight streaming in. Felt like a new beginning, a burst of energy that shifted everything. Jake took a deep breath, a newfound clarity washing over him. Tomorrow wasn't just about facing Nick. It was about facing himself, allowing all the shadows of his past to recede into the background. He was ready for the race that lay ahead. Together, they stepped out into the light, a family fortified by hope, aiming toward the horizon. But as Ben's little hand slipped into his, Jake felt a flicker of doubt. The race was approaching fast, but what if the true challenge didn't just lie on the track? What if it was about everything that came after? The morning sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the racetrack. Jake stood by his car. The familiar hum of engines around him kept drawing his attention. They were warming up, like bowstrings pulled taut, ready for battle. Though he had practiced countless times, today was different. Today felt heavy with expectation. Ben's excited chatter floated over to him. Look, Dad, they even have a clown over there. Ben pointed towards a colorful figure juggling as families settled in for the day. Jake couldn't help but chuckle, seeing the joy on his son's face. It was a reminder of what truly mattered today. It wasn't about winning. It was about sharing these moments with Ben. As Jake tuned his car, tightening bolts and checking gauges, he felt Sarah's presence beside him. You ready? She asked, her eyes scanning his face for any signs of doubt. Yeah, I think so. Just nervous, you know? Jake admitted, wiping his hands on a rag. He wasn't a rookie anymore. Yet the weight of the upcoming race tightened his chest. Jake, Sarah said, a softness creeping into her voice. Remember, this isn't just about the race. You're already winning by being here, by being a role model for him. She gestured towards Ben, who was now oohing at the clown's antics. He smiled at her, taking her words to heart. That faith, that belief in him, fortified him like armor. The nervousness didn't fade completely, but it transformed into something more manageable, like a challenge rather than a setback. As he climbed into the driver's seat, Jake's heart drummed a familiar rhythm. He could hear the lively crowd gathering, feel their anticipation vibrating through the air. Each cheer, each voice intertwined in a tapestry of support. He adjusted the rearview mirror, catching a glimpse of Ben waving, his tiny frame dwarfed by the swirl of adults around. Let us go, Dad, Ben shouted, his eyes bright as he mimicked the revving of an engine. The jolt of energy that coursed through Jake at that moment was electric, igniting a fire within him. With a deep breath, Jake pushed the accelerator down slightly. The car responded with a low growl, and he felt the thrill of command. Some of the surrounding drivers glanced at him, their gazes challenging, just like Nick's earlier. But the doubts didn't have any hold today. He was racing for something more profound. The starting line loomed ahead as engines revved louder, a chorus of metal and adrenaline rising to a crescendo. Jake's heart synced with that rhythm, flooding him with resolve. The race director lifted his flag, and everything slowed to a heartbeat. But just as the flag came crashing down, another thought surfaced unwelcomely. What if I lose? It crept in, festering doubt threatening to drown out the positive energy. Yet, in that moment he recalled Ben's unwavering support. Losing wouldn't be the end. It was just another chapter in the journey. The race started. Cars surged forward, a flash of color and sound. Jake focused, weaving through opponents, driven by a purpose deeper than simply passing the finish line first. Come on. You can do it. Ben's cheers echoed like a beacon, anchoring Jake amidst the swirling chaos. Every twist and turn felt electrifying. With each passing lap, Jake pushed harder, not to outpace Nick, but to show Ben what it meant to fight fearlessly. Gripping the wheel, he became acutely aware. Every obstacle on the track mirrored the struggles they faced in life, and resilience was the secret weapon. But as they rounded the final lap, the reality of the race hit him hard. He was fighting against his own insecurities, the ghosts of past failures. The finish line was closer than ever, but would the past let go of him? Even as his foot pressed down on the pedal with every ounce of strength, Jake felt a sharp pang of uncertainty. Was he really ready to face all that followed beyond this race? As the engines roared, he prepared for that bittersweet moment of truth. What would come after the race? The roar of engines filled Jake's ears as the race reached its climax. He pushed his car to its limits, feeling the vibrations through the steering wheel like a pulse. Each corner he navigated, the tires squealed in protest, but he embraced the thrill. Focused, determined, but doubt still threatened to creep in like a shadow at the back of his mind as they sped into the final stretch. Jake stole a glance at Ben in the stands, his little hands clapping excitedly. That innocent joy reminded him why he was there. It wasn't solely about winning. It was about showing his son what it meant to strive for something greater. The finish line, a white ribbon against a blur of color, drew closer, but so did Nick, his fiercest rival. Nick had taken ample risks, darting through tight spaces, and now he was neck and neck with Jake. The tension crackled, electrifying the air. Every fiber of Jake's being urged him to press harder, to find that last reserve of speed. Don't think about losing, he reminded himself, gripping the wheel even tighter. Think about Ben. With a surge of adrenaline, Jake's foot slammed down on the accelerator. The car responded almost instinctively, surging ahead in a burst of raw power. He felt the wind whip through the open window as they careened down the home stretch, the crowd's cheers blending into a single, exhilarating roar. But then chaos. A sudden spin from a car up ahead sent shockwaves through the pack, and Jake's heart dropped. He had a split second to react. Did he swerve left or right? He froze momentarily, processing the scene unfolding before him at breakneck speed. Jake, watch out! Sarah's voice echoed in his mind, firm yet full of concern. In that instant, everything faded: his nerves, the competition, even his own fears. He had to make a choice. With a swift maneuver, he turned the wheel sharply to avoid the wreckage. Tires screeched, and the car lurched, skidding dangerously close to the edge. The world around him blurred. He could feel each heartbeat pulsing through the metal frame of his car. Miraculously, he steadied the vehicle just in time, edging forward with a power he didn't know he possessed. Ahead of him, Nick struggled to regain control, temporarily losing his position. Come on, Jake yelled, the roar of the crowd reaching a fever pitch. He could see the finish line getting closer. Just a few more moments, and he knew he could pull through, but just then, Ben's bright face flickered in his mind again, reminding him of the real stakes at hand. His son's view of bravery and resilience. Jake took a deep breath, grounding himself in that moment, and pushed with everything he had left. Crossing the finish line, the cheering of the spectators deafened him. But the moment was bittersweet as he realized he hadn't just raced against others. He had outpaced his own inner demons. As he pulled up to a stop, the engine slowed to a purr. Caught in the moment, Jake turned off the ignition and sat in silence. He had survived the race, yes, but what did it mean for the next battle he would face with himself? Slowly, he stepped out of the car, adrenaline still coursing through his veins, but confusion clouding his mind. He scanned the crowd, searching for Ben, yearning for the affirmation of that sweet, innocent love. What faced him on the other side of victory? The race was only one piece of the puzzle. As he made his way back to Ben, a new question stirred within him. Was this his real victory, or was it just the beginning of something more? Jake waded through the throng of jubilant fans. The exhilarating aftermath of victory mingled with a tightening knot in his stomach. Each step felt heavy as the cheers and applause surrounded him like a whirlwind, blurring the lines between joy and uncertainty. He spotted Ben, bouncing on his tiptoes, waving his arms like a small flag amid the crowd. The sight made Jake's heart swell, yet the echo of the race lingered, reminding him that life was far more complex than simply speeding past obstacles. "Dad, you did it!" Ben exclaimed, his voice a high-pitched burst of excitement as Jake reached him. Jake knelt down, arms wide open, embracing his son tightly. The warmth of Ben's small body filled him with a sense of pride, but it was laced with the fear of what lay ahead. "Yeah, buddy. I gave it my all," Jake replied, trying to mask the tumult inside him. He ruffled Ben's hair, grinning, yet his mind whirred. That moment on the track had forced him to reevaluate everything. Winning had emerged as bittersweet. It now felt like a spotlight shining on the shadows he had yet to confront. Ben pulled back, looking up with wide, innocent eyes. "Are we going to celebrate? Can we get ice cream?" Jake hesitated. He remembered promises of celebrations past, moments he often lost to racing or working late. "Of course. Let us get that ice cream," he said, forcing a smile. As they headed toward the stands, Jake caught glimpses of his competitors. Nick, still reeling from the race, shot Jake a glare that felt less about rivalry than about something deeper, a shared understanding of pushing boundaries. There was something in that look that gnawed at Jake, an unspoken acknowledgement that competition wasn't solely about speed. It was a reminder of their shared struggles, their personal roads paved with challenges. Once at the ice cream stand, Ben chose bright sprinkles and a massive scoop of chocolate in a waffle cone that threatened to overflow. Jake opted for something simpler, observing the pure delight spilling from his son's face. Each lick seemed to dissolve some of the tension that had built during the race. Yet Jake felt restless. The celebration felt hollow without a deeper conversation, an acknowledgement of what really mattered beyond the finish line. "Hey buddy," Jake said cautiously, "can I ask you something serious?" "Yeah." "What's up?" Ben asked between bites, his face smeared with ice cream. "Do you ever feel scared? Like, what if I didn't win? Would you still think I was a good dad?" Jake held his breath, unsure if he should even voice that fear. Ben paused, pondering with a frown. "I just want you to be happy, Dad. Winning is cool, but I want you to have fun." Jake's breath hitched. The innocence in Ben's answer was a revelation. He wasn't just racing for trophies or accolades. He was racing to show his son that whatever the outcome, resilience mattered more than the victory itself. "Fun, huh?" Jake chuckled, the weight of his own expectations slowly lifting. "You might have a point there." As they finished their ice cream, the sun dipped low, casting long shadows. The excitement of the day mixed with a sense that the race was only one part of a much larger journey. Jake's heart raced with possibility, not just in the sense of speed, but in discovering what it meant to be both a father and a fighter. And just as he started to think about the road ahead, a sudden roar of engines resurfaced in the distance. Tension twisted in his gut again, and he became aware of how far he still had to go. The thought loomed like a mountain before him. "Ben," Jake whispered, looking down at his son, "what if there's another race I want to run? Something bigger?" Ben's eyes sparkled, curiosity piqued. "Like what?" Jake met his gaze, heart racing, ready to divulge a journey beyond racing, a journey that might redefine everything they believed in. "Let us find out." As Jake and Ben finished up their ice creams, the words hung between them like a fragile thread, one that could unravel or bind them closer together. Jake's mind raced with the possibilities. What did something bigger really mean? He hadn't completely processed all his emotions post-race. The weight of it all pressed down on him, but the look in Ben's eyes, filled with anticipation, pulled him deeper into thought. Okay, let us start with something simple, Jake said, trying to shake off the looming uncertainty. How about a new project? Something we can build together? The idea of constructing something tangible felt grounding, a way to channel the chaotic energy buzzing within him. Ben's eyebrows shot up, excitement flooding his features. Like what? A rocket? A treehouse? Or a go-kart? His voice danced with enthusiasm. The innocent joy struck a chord inside Jake. Here was a chance to create memories, to show Ben that there might be joy in the process, not just the end result. How about a go-kart? Jake suggested, feeling a grin stretch across his face. It was the perfect blend of both their world's speed, building, and fun. We could race it together, just like I race out there. Yeah, that would be awesome, Ben shouted, doing a little jig. Jake laughed, his heart swelling as he watched his SON as they walked back through the cheering crowd. The enormity of the go-kart project began to settle in. This wasn't just about building a vehicle for Ben. It was about building a bridge between them, a way to connect beyond trophies and competitions. The race was just a part of their journey, but this project could bring them together as a team, showing Ben that life wasn't just about winning, it was about enjoying the ride. They approached the car, still adorned with celebratory decals and the trophies glinting in the afternoon sun. Jake turned to Ben. If we're going to do this, we need a plan. I want you to be involved in every step. How about we start with what materials we need? Can we put some crazy paint on it? Ben asked, his eyes wide with creative ideas. Like flames or lightning bolts? Jake chuckled, nodding. Absolutely. The crazier, the better. Excitement buzzed in the air as they talked about wheels, engines, and paint jobs. Each idea sparked another, lighting up their conversations like fireworks. In that moment, the looming shadows of Jake's worries felt less daunting. Building the go-kart became more than just a project. It was a shared vision, a chance to redefine what it meant to succeed in life and racing. As they reached their car, Jake felt a rush of gratitude wash over him. Moments like these were what truly mattered. He stopped, taking a breath, absorbing the sounds around him, laughter, joy, and the sweet smell of victory intertwined with aspirations. But then, a thought crept in, something deeper within him still unaddressed. Hey, Ben, he said hesitantly, driving his gaze toward the distant horizon where the setting sun painted the sky in hues of orange and red. What if this go-kart project leads us to something else? Something powerful? Ben looked up, curiosity sparking once more. What do you mean? Jake leaned closer, contemplating the weight of his next words. What if we could not only race the go-kart but also enter competitions? How about building a whole team to race together? Yeah, Ben shouted, practically bouncing on his feet. We could have friends help. Jake smiled, but an edge of apprehension clung to him. The thought of sharing their journey with others required vulnerability, opening themselves up to both the possibility of support and the fear of failing. All right, let us take it one step at a time. We'll start with the go-kart, and then we can think bigger, he concluded, trying to reassure himself as much as Ben. The engine roared in the distance, announcing the inevitable return to the racing world. As they climbed into the car, Jake gripped the steering wheel, feeling the hardened plastic under his fingers. He realized racing wasn't just about crossing the finish line first. It was about navigating life's buzzing twists and turns together as a family. Are you ready, buddy? He asked, glancing at Ben, who was already sparkling with anticipation. Ready, Ben echoed, a wide grin plastered across his face. With a deep breath, Jake started the ignition, but just before he shifted into gear, he paused, sensing the thrilling weight of what lay ahead. Racing wasn't just on the track. It was woven into the very fabric of their lives. As they pulled onto the road, Jake stole a glance at Ben, whose head bobbed to the rhythm of the engine's growl. The conversation on the go-kart had ignited something in him, a fire that may very well lead to unforeseen journeys, transformed identities, and the raw battles they might face as a family. Ben, what if this leads us to discover a new part of ourselves? Jake mused, allowing the moment to linger. Ben looked up, eyes shining. Like superheroes? Exactly like superheroes. But little did they know that the journey ahead was about to throw them challenges neither could foresee, turning their dreams into a reality that could change everything. The day had finally arrived. The sun peeked through the curtains, filling Jake's workshop with warm light. The garage was buzzing with energy. It wasn't just another project. It was the beginning of something profound. Jake stood, gazing at the pieces of the go-kart laid out like pieces of a puzzle waiting to come together. He could feel the excitement humming in the air, connecting him and Ben like a tightly wound spring. "Dad, can I pick the colors?" Ben's voice rang out, bursting with joy. He was practically bouncing on his feet, his enthusiasm infectious. Jake chuckled, watching the way his son's eyes sparkled. "Of course. What do you have in mind?" Jake asked, kneeling to meet Ben's eager gaze. The questions had shifted. It was no longer about whether they would build the go-kart. It was how far they would take it together. "Flames, like a fire dragon," Ben responded, arms flailing in excitement. "Fire dragon it is." Jake laughed, feeling his heart swell. This was the bond he had yearned for, the simple joy of creation alongside his son. As the day wore on, they began assembling the frame, securing parts with a sense of purpose that felt exhilarating. Each piece they joined was a step closer to a shared dream. They painted, drilled, and shouted with laughter, shrugging off the grease and grime with ease. The worries that had clouded their past drifted away like vapor. Before long, the vibrant color of flames adorned the small frame of their go-kart, glistening in the sunlight like a fiery phoenix reborn. Ben stood back, admiring their work, his pride radiating outwards. "Look at it, Dad. It's perfect." He clapped, eyes bright with wonder. Jake knelt next to him, their shoulders brushing. "It is, and you know what? It's just the start." The words felt heavy with promise. This wouldn't just be a go-kart. It symbolized their journey, a vehicle not just for racing but for life lessons, resilience, and connection. "Can we take it for a test drive?" Ben asked, bouncing on his heels, excitement barely contained. "Absolutely." Jake grinned, heart pounding with anticipation. They wheeled their creation out of the garage, and the moment the wheels hit the open road, a wave of exhilaration washed over them both. The roar of the engine matched the rush of adrenaline coursing through Jake as he guided the cart along the street. It was a thrill unlike any other, and watching Ben's laughter, pure and unfiltered, filled his soul with light as they zipped down the street. Jake realized this was the life he had wanted to give Ben. It wasn't about trophies or recognition. It was about the joy of the ride, the chance to face whatever lay ahead together. Each turn offered new challenges, and they tackled them side by side, laughing together in a beautiful chaos of speed and love. After their ride, they sat on the front lawn, the cart parked proudly beside them. Ben was still bubbling with excitement, eyes wide with dreams. "Do you think we can race it?" he asked. "Why not? We can enter local competitions and meet other kids who love this stuff," Jake exclaimed, feeling the rush of this new dream unfolding before them. "Like a racing team?" Ben's face lit up with possibilities. "Exactly like a racing team. Just think us against the world." Jake felt a surge of determination. They had conquered doubts as father and son, and now they would take on the world as a team. Days passed, and their weekends filled with building, racing, and laughter. The go-kart became more than a project. It became a symbol of hope, perseverance, and the fragile beauty of family. Each race they attended was an opportunity for connection, and slowly, the doubts of their past began to fade into the background. On race day, the air was thick with anticipation. Fellow families gathered, mothers cheering, fathers optimizing engines, all embracing the thrill of competition. Ben's face held an expression of determination, and Jake felt a surge of pride wash over him. "Remember, buddy," Jake said as they prepared for their first race, "this isn't just about winning. It's about pushing forward, no matter what." "I know, Dad, but I still want to win," Ben replied, a sparkle in his eye. "Me too," Jake laughed, ruffling his hair. "But let us have fun first." As they buckled in, Jake stole a glance at their vibrant flames painting the cart, a reminder that they had created something truly special together. The signal flashed green, and in that moment, everything else fell away. Jake pressed the accelerator, the engine roared to life, and with it came a rush of clarity. They sailed down the track, laughter filling the air as they navigated their way through turns and curves. The world around them blurred, and for the first time in a long time, Jake felt free as they crossed the finish line. A wave of exhilaration swept over him. They hadn't just finished. They had conquered something much larger. The support, teamwork, and the bond they had forged were the real victories. With his heart full, Jake saw Ben's pure joy, and it confirmed everything. They were champions, not because they had crossed the finish line first, but because they had embraced the adventure together. As Jake enveloped Ben in a tight hug, adrenaline coursing through them both, he knew they would face the world together, racing towards more adventures, and whatever came next, all with a roaring heart and a fire in their souls. And in that moment, Jake understood the greatest journey was not about the races but about rebuilding. Together, they were unstoppable, a team ready to tackle whatever lay ahead. Now, as you reflect on this amazing tale of transformation and hope, don't wait one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to help feed the algorithm. And don't forget to comment below your feelings about this finale. Wasn't it heartwarming? Share instantly with at least 5 friends who need this kind of transformation in their lives. Let us keep this community growing strong. Your support makes all the difference.